Hello, kalispera σε όλους. Very, very warm welcome to all the attendees of this online discussion. I'm Αχιλλέας Ρακίνας. I'm the Greek consul in the city of Bitola at the Republic of North Macedonia. And I'm joined today with my good colleague, Mrs. Betty Lárda, the head of the Office for Economic and Commercial Affairs at the Embassy of Greece in the capital, Skopje. So we have the great pleasure today of hosting renowned author, celebrity chef, TV presenter, gastronomy critic, all this and much more, Diane Kochilas, in Greek, Diane Kochilas. That's right, Diane, right? From Kochilia, I guess.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
So Diane, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us for this discussion.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So the idea behind today's event, titled Eating Healthy, Greek Products and Mediterranean Diet, came up after a successful initiative by the Office for Economic and Commercial Affairs of the Greek Embassy, and under the auspices of Ambassador Yannakakis, which took place actually last month. It was all about Greek taste, a week for Greek taste, to be precise, that brought consumers around North Macedonia closer to quality Greek imported products. Part of it you just watched at this video produced by Betty Lárda and her team. So I'm just right now, immediately, I'm going to give her the floor to talk a little bit more about the initiative, give us, Betty, an insight of what you succeeded in achieving with this initiative last month.
I think
okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, Diana. I'm so glad that you joined us to this event today. Thank you very much. Well, I have a small presentation to share with you. Let me share it. Well, I don't speak for long. I just would like to make a short introduction. Speaking about food, because food for Greece is a very important element, a very important sector of our life, from the ancient Greeks actually, because it's a matter of custom, it's a matter of how we join with our friends, with the family. It's very important, not only for nutrition, but it's a whole ideology behind this. As you may see in this photo, from the ancient Greek, we use basic food like cereals, legume, fruit, fish, game, olive oil, wine, which is the basic of our cuisine. And the way we preserve the food, the way we prepare food, it's changed through the times, but still we keep the basic and we continue with this. In modern times, we speak about Mediterranean diet, we speak about Greek diet, and actually in Greece we are very proud for a lot of products that we produce because, as I said, it combines with morals, with custom, with tradition, and also with experience, because we combine food also with our traveling. We are visiting different parts of Greece, and this is very important also for our social life. Food is also social life for us. So we are proud for a great variety of products like fish, fresh fish, olive oil, honey, fresh fruits and vegetables, wine. All these products are in a very good quality in Greece. And as an Office of Economic and Commercial Affairs, we try to present these products to the market of North Macedonia. And we exploit every possibility, every opportunity to bring the customers closer to our products, to give them the chance to taste them, to get familiar with them, and to choose them for their diet. One of these initiative, it was, as Αχιλλέας said before, the Greek week, the week of Greek taste, where the goal of this initiative was to reduce the prices, to have competitive prices for the Greek products in order for the people to continue buying, to continue tasting, and to choose the products in order to bring them to their table. And especially this period, which is very difficult period for the people of North Macedonia because of the pandemic. And this whole situation prevents the people who is so close to our country to travel, to make to travel to Greece for tourism and for shopping, which is actually usually the case. And we wanted to bring Greece closer to them, and also to make Greek product even more accessible for all. There were a lot of shops that participated in our initiative. Let me just mention Candia, which is a company importing and selling Cretan products and olive oil Avea in the market of North Macedonia. Lanoi, which is a mini shop and bakery in Skopje. Platamona fish shop, which import and sales in wholesalers, retail sales of fresh fish, seafood products in North Macedonia, and also the big supermarket Tinex and Vero, which both of them involved all stores of the country to this initiative. So the outcome of the initiative, it was very promising, because as the participant explained and stated and mentioned, there were a big increase in their increase of sales of Greek products, and in their turnover in general. The assumption is that the sales jumped to 32 to 100%. And also there were new customers in the shop, and also the customers had the intention to buy larger quantities of the Greek product because of the very attractive prices. And also we have the idea to repeat it also next year, an action like this, and the participants are very glad to join again in this initiative also next year. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Betty. And congratulations once more for this great work you all did with your team at the office. So before I properly introduce our featured guest, allow me just a bit of housekeeping. We will save enough time at the final 10 to 15 minutes of the event for a Q&A. You may submit your questions to Diane by typing them at the Q&A function right below, and I promise that I will convey them to our speaker, as long as they are on topic, of course. Last but not least, I would like to thank the Bitola-based Association of Friendship and Cooperation with Greece Pelagonia and its School for Greek Language for their technical support for this event. And with that, Diane Kochilas is one of the world's foremost experts on Greek and Mediterranean cuisine. She's the host, creator, and co-producer of My Greek Table, the award-winning 13-episode per season cooking travel show about Greece that airs on the US public television. Diane hails from the blue zone Greek island of Ikaria and New York City, and brings a combination of innate blue zone wellness and result-oriented NYC spirit to everything she does. She's an award-winning author of more than 18 books on Greek Mediterranean cuisine, and runs the glorious Greek Kitchen on Ikaria Cooking School every spring and fall on the island, I guess on the years that we don't have a pandemic, right? Diane also organizes culinary excursions and walking tours in Greece and cooking classes throughout the United States. She has been on the forefront of bringing healthy Greek and Mediterranean cuisine to an American and international audience for more than 25 years now. Diane has been consulting chef for many of the top Greek restaurants in the United States, and for years has worked with university dining services at Harvard, Yale, and University of Massachusetts Amherst to bring healthy Mediterranean cooking to student dining halls. She's a frequent speaker at the CIA and other major culinary institutions. Just for the record, just to put the record straight, CIA, the acronym for CIA is not for Central Italian Intelligence, right? It is for Culinary Institute of America. Totally. So the easiest way for you to explore Diane's work more in depth is by visiting her website, DianeKochilas.com, where a full list of her TV series, books, classes, and tours are presented along with online purchase options. So Diane, first question. We heard the term a blue zone region, right? And it is used for places notorious for their longevity of their populations. One of these places is your native island, Ikaria. So can you tell us a little bit more about why do we call them like that?
Well, they're called blue zones. It was actually kind of serendipity, how the name evolved. There was a team a few years, maybe about 10 years ago or so, maybe a bit longer, of researchers who were looking into longevity around the planet. And it was Dan Buettner is the name of the person who kind of headed up that effort. He was working with scientists and demographers and other people who in the science world who are interested in longevity. And I guess I don't know the full story, but I do know that they started to, they discovered, I think it's 6 places. It's Sardinia, the mountainous region of Sardinia, Costa Rica, Okinawa in Japan, Yorma Lunda, California, which is a community of Seventh-day Adventists, I think, and Ikaria, 5 places. And they literally circled those places on a map with a blue pencil. And that's how the term blue zone was born. Dan is a brilliant marketer, and he understood the simplicity and sort of the catchiness of that phrase. And I discovered, it was sort of a funny coincidence, because I was at a friend's house in San Francisco more than 10 years ago. And I was sleeping on her living room, on a blow-up mattress on her living room floor. And, it was a sleepless night. I was jet lagged, and I was looking, she has an incredible library, and there happened to be a book on the counter called The Blue Zones. And I'm flipping through this book, and I see Ikaria, and I was like, wow, like nobody knows about Ikaria. How does this guy Dan Buettner know about Ikaria? And it turns out that the next day they actually contacted me. It was very strange. And they ended up filming in Ikaria, in our home, and in various other places. This was the first time that they had come to the island. And it got me thinking about my own experience on the island, because I grew up in New York of Vicarian parents. And I started to think about my own family, and my mother lived to the age of 95. My father-in-law lived to the age of 92. My husband's grandmother lived almost to the age of 100. And suddenly I just realized there were all these people I knew who were quite old and well, and cognitively, they were fine, and physically they were fine. And I had never thought about it before. It was just, there staring at me kind of in broad daylight. But the island is interesting for many reasons. It's been historically insignificant for at least 3,000 years. So nobody cared about Ikaria ever. It was always very poor. There are no natural ports on the island, so it was never a place, on the ancient trade routes. It was never a stopover. The waters around Ikaria, as you probably have heard, Ikarios Pelagos, are extremely rough. You have to be a very seasoned, sailor. We rarely see sailboats around Ikaria for that reason. So it was a place of exile for a long time in its history, and from the Byzantine era up until the Civil War, basically. So it was always this quirky, you know, kind of forgotten place. But as a result of that history, I think people are very self-sufficient, and there's an incredibly strong and deep sense of solidarity. So I think if I had to name the one thing, even more than diet and more than diet, I think it's this mentality that Icarians have that we carry with us even across the universe, you know, across the continents. I grew up in an Icarian community in New York City, and up until I basically went to American high school, you know, or sort of maybe Greek grade school, I kind of, you know, never realized that there was anywhere else like in the universe besides Ikaria. You know, I just thought that was the only place in Greece. That was it. That was Greece. And the sense of solidarity is a very important factor, because as we see in the West, and we're experiencing this now, you know, to the nth degree with COVID, this sense of isolation that pervades Western societies is a very stressful state of existence. And in a place like Ikaria, you know, I'm sure it's true in other small Greek islands too, but there's something unique about the way people relate to each other on the island. There's no pretense, you know, there's no rich or poor, you know, you wouldn't know it. You know, people who have money don't show it. It's not, they don't, you know, it's not something that is people aspire to necessarily. So there isn't that stress either, but, you know, it's more about the quality of your connections to people.
Right.
And I think that's a really important lesson especially now. I mean, the whole world is so isolated right now that, you know, that feeling of solidarity among people. You can be alone in Ikaria. I experienced this for myself. I stayed on the island until the end of October for the first time in my life. And in the beginning, I was sort of scared. I'm thinking, what am I going to do here alone? Oh, you know, there's nothing to do. But it was like the most incredible discovery, because all I had to do was go into the village, and all of a sudden there was someone to talk to, and it was funny, and it was just the most incredible. It was the best thing I'd done in a long time. Sorry, I'm a talker. Ask. I can yak forever.
And you highlighted a very important, you know, social condition, right?
Yeah, I think that's hugely important.
Right, right. So I guess that we can find that kind, you know, of a social characteristic to other places that you just mentioned, blue zone places, which are in other continents, right? Not even around the Mediterranean.
I don't know if it's the same. I mean, certainly the Japanese do not have that kind of connection. They're much more, you know, rigid and conservative. You know, I don't know about Costa Rica. I would guess Sardinia is fairly similar.
So if we go back to the diet, you know, a correlation there, you know, because we have identified, especially in Greece, healthy Greek Mediterranean diet with lots of olive oil, you know, vegetables, fish. You have, you know, through your recipes, through your books, you have strained the importance, you know, of vegetables, and how you promoted these so-called oil-based Greek recipes, you know, that we are so very much familiar. So in the diet, let's say, from a diet perspective, is there any connection with these regions? Because olive oil is something that you can find it only, you know, in our region, right?
I mean, I think one of the main connections, I don't know about Costa Rica and I don't know about Okinawa, but I think one of the main threads is this largely plant-based diet, you know, and healthy protein. And certainly, I mean, look, the Greeks are eating much differently than they were 40 and 50 years ago. So the people, you know, say on Ikaria, who are now 95 years old, had a very, very different diet than what the people who are now 20 and 30 are eating. Nonetheless, in that particular place, which I know quite well, people still farm for themselves. So there's this, you know, that's another thing that kind of plays into this stress factor, that they might be poor, but they're not impoverished. You know, they're not hungry. They have the dignity of producing their own food that gives them an incredible sense of independence. And, you know, they might not have money to take a trip, you know, to Paris, but they have enough to offer you something when you visit them. You know what I'm saying? It's a very different way to live. But I think this whole plant-based thing is quite important. And certainly the Greek diet, and, you know, the Icarian diet is the Greek diet as well. It's not anything different. I think our reliance on plants, I think we don't even realize sometimes how many plant-based foods we eat. You know, I think that sets the Greek diet apart from almost any other diet, at least in the Western part of the Mediterranean. I mean, even I've been going back and forth, not since COVID, but I was going back and forth to Italy for about a year. And I was really shocked at how much meat the Italians eat. I never imagined it. I just, you know, it was very different. And I think we're really blessed in Greece because we do have this connection to the land that it has been lost, I think, in a lot of the rest of the Mediterranean. We still have a village. We still have relatives in small places. You know, maybe we don't have our home in the village anymore, but we certainly have cousins and uncles and, you know, a way to get the olive oil from your grandfather's trees that might belong to 75 different cousins now, but you still get that olive oil. And I think that those are things that are very unique to Greece. And, you know, we have this incredible quality of produce, which is something, you know, that we need to be really aware of. And the fact that we understand seasonal foods, and we understand that almost intuitively, you know, you just by going to a market here, people understand, you know, what's in season. They understand you eat horta in the wintertime and tomatoes in the summertime. And I think that those are things that are great lessons that have been lost. I mean, as simple as that sounds, I think many people in the West don't understand that there's a season for everything.
So this, and speaking exactly on that, you know, seasonal diet, do you believe that initiatives like the Week for Greek Taste that the embassy organized help educate people into, you know, adding the seasonal aspect into their, you know, let's say consumer habits? Because, you know, living, you described this serenity, you know, living in Ikaria right now, even amidst the pandemic, and how you go back to nature, you explore things every day. Even in a small place, you know, how many things you can do and how well you can fool your time every day. But when, you know, someone is at the office and he's working, you know, shifts, he is going in late in the evening at the groceries, you know, are there any tips about, you know, educating ourselves on what we should pick?
I mean, I think one tip, and this applies to supermarket shopping and everywhere in the world, I think, stay away from the middle. And because all the fresh stuff is usually on the periphery of the supermarket. So that's something to keep in mind. I think that's a really easy tip. You know, try to buy things, the things that are in season tend to be cheaper. So definitely if you're buying tomatoes in January, they're a lot more expensive than they are in August. You know, I also think that, of course, we're all interested in promoting the Greek diet and Greek products and olive oil and, you know, all of the basics that give our diet those healthy characteristics. But I think you can apply some of those things even to places that don't necessarily have the same quality of produce. Maybe, you know, if you're living in a Northern European country, you can still use Greek olive oil, but maybe you're using local vegetables, you're using root vegetables in the wintertime. There's a reason why that's, you know, different things grow in different places, because the climate, what your body needs is also rooted in what and how cold it is, or how wet it is, or, you know, whatever the climate is. So I think you can take certain aspects of our ingredients, certain ingredients like olive oil and, you know, feta cheese and some of the dried herbs and honey, and you can still use those things on fresh food that's available where you happen to be locally.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also a tip, and keep it, I mean, simple cooking. Greek food is simple. It's not, you need a bottle of olive oil, a little salt, one pot, and some vegetables. And, you know, you can pretty much prepare anything.
And this, you know, this tendency to simplicity, and now, you know, I'm moving from the individual consumer to the restaurant business, is something that there is a struggle to regain it, from what I understand, especially here in North Macedonia, which is a country, you know, abundant in, you know, herbs and vegetables and very good qualities, product qualities. But when we go to the restaurant business, there is a difficulty into, you know, enhancing the local products into the restaurant menus. You know, the costs, some businessmen, you know, find the costs to be too much. There's a difficulty, you know, in the chain, the products to arrive to the restaurants locally, you know, fresh. So I think that in Greece, in the past 20 years, there was a change in that, right? We have done steps towards, you know, increasing the usage of local products to the restaurants. I think it's something that you have worked on it very much.
Absolutely. I mean, in Greece, I moved to Greece from New York in 1992. And I was in shock at how few actually Greek like fine dining restaurants there were in Athens at the time. The country was just opening up, you know, after all the most recent history, and it was, you know, the EU was on our doorstep, and all this new stuff started coming into the supermarkets, and chefs were embracing that. I remember one of my first experiences. For a long time, I worked for a big newspaper here, for Tanea, writing in Greek. My Greek parochial school education served me well. And I remember going to these restaurant awards that were held by a local magazine here. And you know, I was a New York snob. I thought, you know, I know everything. Whatever. This is nothing can impress me. And I was actually shocked that the restaurant of the year in 1993 was a Polynesian restaurant. And I thought, there's something totally wrong with this. And this went on for a few years, but then as the Olympics approached, I think people really there was a plate shift, and people started to embrace local products more. Transportation also became easier, so the accessibility was easier. But now I think that has definitely, you know, it's here to stay. I mean, it's been part of Greek dining, you know, culture now for a long time. And there are some, you know, fabulous restaurants all over the country, from simple, you know, mom and pop places to, you know, more fancier, you know, dining establishments. Athens, as you probably know, you know, when everything opens again, is a place, a food city where you can find incredible value for money. I mean, my American friends, you know, I take them to dinner here, and we sort of say we just spent, you know, 15 euros or 20 euros each. This is, you know, this would be $600 in New York. You know, it's a great food city.
yeah.
And the markets too, in every respect. I mean, the markets are so vibrant, you know, the little shop. It's an amazing city. But yeah, the Greek, you know, modern Greek food, there was a little footnote in this. When the financial crisis decimated the country, there was a little bit of a silver lining in that people, people rediscovered their roots and went back to simplicity, to, you know, even in restaurants, but in a good way. I mean, elegantly prepared or elegantly presented food, but not pretentious food. And I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, you know, Bitola is literally next door from Greece. We're just 15 kilometers from the first Greek town of Florina, you know, after we cross the border. So the region of Western Macedonia is very close. And I have to say that, you know, I have experienced incredibly good quality of food in restaurants around Florina and in Kozani. I'm impressed of exactly, as you said, about the improvement that took place in the past years. And this is maybe, you know, from our point of view, a very good field of cooperation, bilateral cooperation, you know, spread the know-how also to restaurateurs and businessmen here in North Macedonia. And you know, increase the quality and exactly use the local recipes and the local products to increase, you know, their menu, to make their menu better.
I mean, that's also one of the agricultural baskets of Greece. That part of Greece has so many incredible products, from, you know, farmed river fish to, I mean, there's the cheeses, the peppers. I mean, there's so much up there. So incredible recipes.
I know that you have traveled extensively around Greece, so I'm sure that you visited the regions of Greece.
I did. In Florina, I'm racking my brain now to think of the name of this recipe that was so unusual. I have it in a book and I can't remember it now. It's with a walnut-based sauce. It'll come to me.
So next step is, you know, after the pandemic is we're looking forward to hosting you in North Macedonia right now and explore, you know, recipes and ingredients here. Yeah. So we already have some questions from the Q&A, but before that, you know, Betty, would you like to add something on our discussion, or shall I give the floor to our audience?
I think there are already enough questions, so please start, because we will not have enough time to finish or give some answers, please.
All right. Yes, I think so, because, you know, we run out of time. Better we will expand the discussion with our audience as well. So a question from Ephtechia. Recently, Greece assumed the presidency and coordination with regard to the actions that will be carried out within the framework of the Network for the Mediterranean Diet in the year 2021. The presidency, says Ephtechia, will focus on strengthening the cooperation between the network, as well as the connection of the nutritional model with education, sustainability, and the impact of climate change. So the question is, how does diet impact or is connected to sustainability and the climate change?
That's a big question. I'm actually very interested in finding out more about the presidency, because I read about it and it's hard to find information on that. So if Ephtechia, you know something, please reach out to me and let me know. I would love to be involved if I can. I mean, certainly eating in season is definitely a sustainable way to eat. Eating locally is also a very sustainable way to eat. Eating a plant-based diet or largely plant-based diet, you know, the Mediterranean diet is probably the most sustainable diet on the planet, because it's so reliant on plants and on plant-based protein. So I think that's a good start. I mean, one thing that I've started to do, I've become much more aware of my own personal bad habits. And something that I just started to do recently, I realized I was throwing the amount of garbage that I throw out, almost every day is really embarrassing. And I realized that a lot of it was just stuff that I could compost. And I don't have a fancy composting machine. I just put it in a bowl on my kitchen counter. And if I have almond shells, orange peels, onion skins, anything like that. And what I've started to do is put it in my blender with a little bit of water and just empty it into the plants. So that's, it's even the little things. It's sort of like act locally and, the globe benefits. So the planet benefits. So I think, those are just a few small things.
Right.
Ahtiye has a lot of questions.
And the follow-up is when we talk about the health benefits of food, we mainly focus on physical health. Are there any effects concerning our mental health? I mean, you already mentioned to the the solidarity, let's say, case, which is not diet related, but it has to do with a lifestyle.
Absolutely. I mean, the Mediterranean diet is a lifestyle of sharing food. So I also think that's one of the reasons why Greeks have done so well in the hospitality industry all over the world, is because we love to share food, and there's never enough. We have to make more to share more. But there are also other things that are really, and I think that one of the most profound lessons of the Mediterranean diet, and and I use that interchangeably with the Greek diet, is that certain food, all foods also have their therapeutic value. So I can tell you just personal examples, say from Ikaria, because that's what I know fairly well. A 90-year-old friend of mine who is an incredible dancer and beekeeper and in incredible physical shape tells me that his penicillin, and he's been doing this from the time he was a kid, whenever he feels a cold coming on, he drinks a cup of sage tea, he puts a garlic clove in it and a little honey. And there are all sorts of antibacterial and anti-inflammatory, qualities in that combination. All the foods that we eat, and especially the plant-based foods, have corresponding, therapeutic values. So I remember just as a kid, I had an aunt in Ikaria who also lived to be, in her late 90s. And she had a connection to her body that we all talk about mindfulness now and slowing down and understanding how things work inside. This was intuitive for her. And it's a life lesson for me. She would know, she would say things to me like, my gallbladder hurts today, I have to drink this, or I have to drink Vicino because that's in a pharmaco for something else. So the old timers knew. That knowledge it's still a living tradition. So a lot of the foods that we eat, artichokes lower your blood pressure, garlic lowers your blood pressure. I mean, those are very simple. But the list is endless. Taramo salata, which we eat, during Lent, is an incredibly nutritious, nutritionally dense food. There's a reason why we eat it during Lent. Tahini, same thing. It's packed with calcium. It's a great substitute for dairy products. So there's a lot of wisdom in our way of eating.
And especially, if I can add to this question, is nowadays we speak all time for the medical herbs, for the superfoods, to add to our diet healthy food. It's not only the fresh ones, but also the ingredients that they have, and every single herb, for example, can help in a different way to a small problem that we face with our organism. It's very important so to combine the correct food for the correct problem.
Yeah, and taking an example again from here, from Bitola and the region, I have many friends from Bitola, local friends who are in general great hikers, and they're alpinists. The mountains are very beautiful. The mountains that surround Bitola, it's the Pelister Peak, the region of Mariovo. So I'm impressed on the knowledge they have on collecting herbs. Mm-hmm. Mountain tea, identifying each and every one of them, and then making recipes, creating their own drugs, and using them throughout the year. So I'm extremely impressed how it's not just about the elder generation, that knows how to deal with those kind of herbs. It's people in their 20s here that they know what to pick, and they know how to create medicine. So this is really encouraging, in terms of how you can, expand your knowledge on this and use them in your everyday life. I will go, sorry.
Some doctors combine also the blood, type of the blood with a specific kind of food. So they create a particular diet for each person.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, right. So I will go now to Alexa. She has a question about the traditional winter diet on the island of Ikaria. So she and other places who are pretty isolated. So the question is about whether, Diane, you managed to mirror, you actually showcase recipes from the island's winter diet, and you try to apply them to more modern, cookbook, let's say. I guess winter diet is Alexa mentions winter because there you can find more herbs, or
you can find more greens for sure. Mushrooms are huge, really important aspect of the food culture of Ikaria, and not only Ikaria. I'm sure where you are, there must be. I know in Ipiros, for example, it's a mushroom heaven. All of Greece, it's a mountainous country, so we eat a lot of mushrooms. Mushrooms are a really interesting food. There's been all sorts of research lately about the connection between, rather the good connection between mushrooms and Alzheimer's. And apparently the consumption of mushrooms has a very beneficial effect on the incidence of Alzheimer's. That's something that's, very new research. Greens are winter food, root vegetables are winter food, everything in the onion family, French fries, sometimes in olive oil, on those really cold nights in front of the fireplace, a little red wine, that's not bad either. But, you can indulge. We don't have to be so stressed out all the time about what we're eating. It's more about, pan metronariston. Just everything in good measure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Soup, beans, and legumes, of course, winter food for the most part.
Great. A question from Mendes Stankovsky. What is your approach and how you ensure that the vegetables you buy in the stores, big markets, supermarkets, groceries, are healthy and they are treated appropriately, regarding fertilizers, pesticides, etc.?
I try to buy organic. We have organic farmers markets in Greece, so I do try to frequent them. I have one in my neighborhood, so I go there, once a week. Definitely, the price point is much higher than it is, for regular produce in the supermarket. I'm also lucky. I do grow stuff in the summertime and preserve it. So, I have my own tomato sauces and my own dried fruits and stuff like that. I also think that, there are organizations that certify the quality of produce, whether it's organic produce or not. So, I would think that anywhere in Europe, I want to believe that we can trust that. And You know, I mean, I think if you're buying something from a supermarket, for the most part, you can trust it.
Mhm.
You know, there is this continuous, you know, awareness on the effects, not just of the, you know, fertilizers, but also, you know, we live in a region. I always go back to our region here, but, you know, it's a region that it has been severely affected by the energy plants, right? From the Greek region of Western Macedonia, Bitol as well has a big energy plant that uses, you know, lignite, still uses lignite.
Okay.
And there are, you know, there is research of the effects that this might have to the quality of the soil, you know, that then we cultivate vegetables. And this is something, you know, that is being discussed, you know, within the community quite a lot.
I mean, I can also say that, I don't want to say where, but I know as well that there are certain parts of, you know, places near Athens that are famous for, you know, famous farm territories, you know, where the pesticide use and the cancer rate is very high as a result. And even the organic stuff often from these areas, you know, there can't be fully organic because the soil is so tainted. Mm-hmm. You know, we never really know. I mean, we never really know. Unless you're growing food yourself, you can never be 100% sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. A question from Christian Velianov next. As masticha is not widely used or known as a spice in North Macedonia, could you tell us something more about its usage? Just to add here, Diane, that masticha is very well known here as a spirit. It is a traditional drink. So I didn't know that before I arrived here. So people know it, but it's true that they don't use it, you know, as we do in recipes.
Okay. Well, masticha is a natural gum. It comes from the 20 or so villages, the masticha villages on the southern side of the island of Chios, which is in the northeastern Aegean. And it's a very interesting ingredient. It's kind of a miracle ingredient because it has so many just incredibly therapeutic aspects to it. From, you know, it's a salve for stomach and, you know, oral mouth issues. You know, masticha shampoo is great for your hair. Masticha, you know, face cream is great for your face. You know, the list goes on. Toothpaste. But in cooking, it's a really interesting ingredient because it's a real chameleon. I mean, I don't think I can think of another spice that is equally delicious with tomato sauce, lemon, chocolate, you know, vanilla, bechamel sauce, or avgo lemon, or, you know, any sort of creamy like white sauce, sweet white sauces. It's just really versatile, and you know, I love it. I love to use it in cooking. You know, you can use the actual resin, which is in the form of crystals. You can also buy it as a powder, but you can also pour the liqueur into, you know, something. It's very flavorful, so you'll get the flavor from it.
And it is, Diana, it is a miracle because you can only find it in this particular island.
Yes.
Not even to the coast opposite to the island, I mean, to the Turkish part. You can find nowhere in the world apart of the island of Chios.
Of Chios. And you had mentioned superfoods. It's definitely a Mediterranean superfood. I mean, it's maybe in the top, I would say top 3 or 4. It's really an incredible substance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Nice. Okay. We have a question from Apostolis Karagiannis. When talking about the food products, especially the natural ones that are coming originally from the Greek soil, could it be used for making a special diet program for athletes, people that try to keep healthy life, that consists from the local food only without using any artificial additives? I guess that this can be linked also to the superfood business.
I think so. I mean, I think there's a real, in serious athletics now, there's a really interesting trend away from animal protein. And in fact, there's a Netflix documentary about that, about these top athletes who eat only a plant-based diet. So I think my friend Dean Karnazes, who's a Greek-American ultra-marathoner, he's run 50 marathons in 50 days consecutively. He amazingly fit person. He doesn't eat, he eats very, very little animal protein, maybe some game, but most of his, you know, we've had this conversation several times, most of his diet is plant-based. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're eating, you know, there are lots of plant-based proteins. So if you're eating a healthy, you know, seasonal, hopefully organic diet with a lot of olive oil, remember all those incredible qualities, you know, the anti-inflammatory qualities of olive oil, you know, it is a miracle diet. I mean, I have a feed, my Google feed, I have the Mediterranean diet as an alert. And I get alerts at least once, often twice a day, with different, you know, constant flow of new research about the beneficial effects of this diet.
And Diana, may I ask your opinion about this keto diet? There is a big debate about this. What is your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, I know people who have lost a lot of weight on it and have maintained, you know, a slim physique on it. I tend to be, you know, I'm of the mind, I'm not a diet extremist. I don't, you know, feel guilty if I have an ice cream cone. I don't have an ice cream cone every day. You know, I think it's all about balance, and that's really what the Mediterranean diet is. I mean, the keto diet is so protein and fat heavy. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say, for some people it works. If it works, that's great. For me, I would feel deprived if I couldn't have Greek fruit, you know, and vegetables.
So with Dean Karnazes, you mentioned again, you know, you stressed again the importance of, you know, non-meat proteins. There, in both countries, both in Greece and in North Macedonia, a lot of people follow, you know, religious fasting. And, you know, there is a lot of debate about whether this is, you know, besides the religious aspect, it is a blueprint for a healthy diet, because actually it encompasses all the aspects of the Mediterranean diet, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, that also goes back to Fthia's question about sustainability, because if, you know, think about it, if the entire population of Europe stayed off animal products for half the year, which is essentially what you do when you fast, there would be a lot less pollution in the world. I think it's a, you know, there's a detox element to that, and there's also something else that happens when you fast, which is you focus differently. I find I fast for Easter for the full 40 days usually. I didn't this year because I was in New York during COVID. It was the height of COVID in New York City, and I couldn't fit anything else in my already stressed out head. But, you know, what happens when you fast is you focus differently. It's like a mind shift. So you're not always thinking about, oh, you know, I want chocolate, or I want this, oh, I need to have a piece of cheese, or, you know, it's sort of like, okay, I'm turning this off and I can concentrate on deeper things. I mean, that's really the whole purpose of fasting.
Right. Theodora Kotevska, could you comment on the sugar intake of the people of Ikaria in comparison with those of the Western diet?
I'm a bad example of that because I have a sweet tooth. But
nobody's perfect, right?
no one's perfect, and I'm low on the list of filled with imperfections. Honey is a big thing on the island. Honey is excellent from Ikaria because there's almost no commercial farming, so it's pretty much all organic and raw. But the sugar intake, I think, is, if you look at the traditional diet, then it is what it is. Traditionally, people eat sweets on festive occasions. We do have this incredible goat's milk ice cream on Ikaria that in the summertime it's delicious. We use ancient sweeteners like honey and petimezi, which is a grape molasses. I don't know. I don't have any scientific study to have a real opinion about that, or not any true knowledge.
And Katie says that keto diet is the most effective diet for weight reduction, but it is not recommended as a healthy diet. Thank you, Katie, for this. And
Apostolos, the previous question, which has a very interesting question about kumquats.
The kumquats of Corfu.
Yes.
The kumquats of Corfu, we have the English to thank for them. Mr. Merlin, who brought kumquats to Corfu. And they've been an important local product ever since. They're delicious. The liqueur is interesting. It's not something I drink regularly, but the kumquat is important on the island. They make fruits glacés.
Fruit glacé. It's very delicious, though. Huh?
It's delicious. Yeah, it's really delicious. They're also delicious just raw, even with the skin. They're really interesting.
Very aromatic.
Very aromatic.
And Kostas Yagopoulos, then a question about the dietary habits, right? Is it possible for people who are working all day and they don't have the time to cook at home to still have a healthy Mediterranean diet?
I would say everyone has the time to cook at home. If you have the time to make yourself a cup of coffee in the morning, you have the time to cook a simple meal. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't take 2 hours to do that. I'm a working mother, and I, cook oftentimes begrudgingly, but in about 20 minutes. It doesn't take that long. It's easy, and you might need a little bit of organizing. If you can make a salad, you can have a healthy meal. I mean, it's not difficult.
And staying on that topic, Oliver Jovanovski asks, this idea of a healthy Mediterranean diet and products is great, but what can be done regarding education and promotion of the larger, against the larger, mass of consumers? To a larger mass of consumers, because it is very important consumers to know benefits and how to choose. We go now again back to promotion, right?
Yeah, what you just did, I think is that exactly that kind of event. I mean, teaching people, I think one of the most effective things is to literally get the food in people's mouths. So if you're standing in a supermarket with, a beautiful Greek salad or a little bit of olive oil, and you're actually saying, taste this, and then in a 5-minute chat, you can explain the very basics. I think it's a combination of things. It's a grassroots effort. It's restaurants representing that. It's, the internet and cooking shows and cookbooks and people's own curiosity. There's a lot of information out there. So it's not difficult to eat well. And it's not expensive to eat well.
Yeah.
This is something that we forget about it. Yeah. Sorry, Betty.
No, I just remember that before pandemic, we had an idea with Αχιλλέα here at the Office of Economic and Commercial Affairs to make a workshop about olive oil. And the intention was to bring together chef people with restaurants, consumers, academia, and discuss about the ingredients that has the olive oil, what kind of reaction have, what kind of benefits has to the people's life and health. But it wasn't easy to create and to make this event because of the pandemic. But we are working on it, and maybe we try to do it online because we think it's important, not only to let people know, but also to give them also ideas of how they will use this product to everyday life. It's important.
Well, time flies when you have such an.
I
know that you have to.
I can take one more question, but I'm sorry, I have to leave shortly.
Yeah, well, we will just, so I suggest that we just end with a final question from Αχιλλέα, which, is our colleague, and she did a lot.
Okay.
It's not, I will make, the question as an argument. Αχιλλέα writes, it is also where gastronomy meets tourism. Both countries could assume joint actions. Is there a basis, a common ground in different cuisines? I suggest that this will be, you will give us an answer, Diane, when you will come here. So we're going to welcome you to Bitola and to Skopje in North Macedonia, and we will explore the commonalities of both cuisines in the countries.
Okay, I mean, Greek cuisine is. I just read someplace that people considered it the most authentic Mediterranean cuisine. And I think that just has to do with the freshness and the quality of our food. And it's a good reason to travel here. People travel to eat, so it is a good reason.
Yeah, and good diet, as you mentioned, it's a difficult thing to do, to create a good dietary habits, and then you have to explore, you have to go out and search for the products, search for the recipes, as you have done for so many years, and then you come back with this knowledge and try to make something more modern, right? To make it more suitable to modern societies. So with that, I would like to thank Diane Kochilas so very much for being with us here today and have this wonderful conversation. Again, as I said, we're looking forward to hosting you in North Macedonia. And I would suggest Betty for us to wrap up with the video that you have produced. So I will share my screen with the video. It's a 6-minute video, and then we will end the session. But we can say goodbye to Diane now.
Okay, thank you. I'm first and foremost a Greek mother, and my kid's going to be waiting for me in the cold in a few minutes.
There are priorities.
Nice meeting you, Diana.
It's really enjoyable, and I thank you for inviting me.
Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ.
Εγώ ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Χάρηκα πολύ, Diana. Καλό απόγευμα.
Yeah.
Betty, thank you so very much to you as well. And
Αχιλλέας.
over to the next event.
Okay, thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
What a day to be alive, what a dream to have a heartbeat. What a way to spend my time walking on this satellite. Everything I need is here and now. Look at how the colors dance around. I could give it all away for free, and would it even matter? 'Cause all I need is come and let it rescue me.
αυγά από τις ελληνικές θάλασσες. Έχουμε κατάστημα λιανικής στο κέντρο των Σκοπίων και εξυπηρετούμε και λιανική και χωρική πώληση σε
This is a family business. We have many years in the fish market. We import ourselves the products which are bought by our own boats.
Things are here in the way to eat. We have also saffron in tea with saffron from Kusani. We have rice also from tea. And we have cosmetics, soaps from olive oil. They are natural products. Everything is certified. And we have also traditional honey from farm.
Everything I need is here and now. Look at how the colors dance around. I could give it all away for free, and would it even matter? 'Cause all I need is don't want anything but come and let it rescue me, 'cause all I need is don't want anything but come and let it rescue me, 'cause all I need is don't need anything but come and let it rescue me, 'cause all I need is don't need anything but come and let it rescue me, 'cause all I need is look at how the colors dance around. I could give it all away for free, and would it even matter? 'Cause all I need is
big thanks to the Greek Embassy for the period of the end of October 24 till the 1st of November for this very good action where we support Greek products. Actually, it is Greek and the Greek taste, and we are very happy because we are part of this action, and we make a lot of activities which can be very supportive of this action. A lot of promotion of the Greek products, little degustation, a lot of activities which can give a lot of effort to the Greek products to be closer to our customers. Actually, a lot of new articles which can give to our customers.
come and let it rescue me, 'cause all I need is come and let it rescue me, 'cause all I need is
So again, thanks all the participants for their attendance today. And from Betty and myself, have a great evening. And till next time.
Till next time. See you soon.
See you. Bye.
Bye.